David, it's great to have you on the podcast today. How you doing?
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Adam. Really good to be live on your show, and I can see it's nice and sunny where you are. You're looking good.
Yeah, yeah. It's sunny for the meantime now. It's pretty crazy weather, really. It's sunny. It's quite sunny, but it's cold. It's
Yeah,
fresh.
fresh. Yeah, that's what you want, isn't it?
Yeah,
Here in Swansea, it's lovely.
yeah,
You appreciate this moment, eh?
yeah. That's it exactly. Especially when it's been raining and stuff like that. It's nice to have a bit of sun. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's great to have you on the podcast. I really appreciate it. And you've been a life coach for many years, and you've just written a book called "Let It Go: How to Stop Your Past from Ruining Your Future." And do you want to go into how you got into coaching first, and then we can kind of go into the book
Yeah,
side of things,
yeah,
like how
sure,
you kind of got into it.
sure. As a teenager, like a lot of teenagers, you just spend your life thinking,
Mm,
why am I feeling like this? And you don't understand life, you don't understand yourself. And I just lacked self confidence, Adam, and I lacked self esteem, and I was just never, when you want to be assertive, you want to say something like in class, put your hand up and answer, and you can't do it, and you're looking at other people and asking yourself, why are they so confident? Why am I not?
mm,
And
mm.
you know I struggled for a lot of my childhood, and I put a brave face on, like a lot of us do these times, and it, it it carried on in my 20s. So in my life, I remember when I arrived in university, I was just lost, thinking, how am I going to survive? Everyone else in this hall of residence looks really confident, and why do I feel like this? And it was a dark time. So I um, I knew I had to change. I knew I had to change, Adam, and that's when I started working on myself. You
Mm.
should have started somewhere, read books. I wouldn't tell anyone how I felt. So yeah, yeah, it was difficult.
Yeah. No, I see what you mean, and I think as well, those kind of years are very um formidable years, aren't they? Like when you're growing up as a teenager in your 20s, you're constantly looking at what other people are doing, people are telling you what to do, and I think it's difficult because there's a lot of pressure on you as a person because you're kind of still finding you're finding your feet of who you are, and I think it's a difficult time.
Mm. Yeah, very difficult time, and as a guy, it's sometimes even more difficult because people are saying, "Man up," grow up, and
Yeah.
and you when you hear this, you think, "Well, I'm not going to tell anyone." You just keep it to
Mm,
yourself, and you have your own coping mechanisms. Yeah, so my I went to university. My first degree was a science degree. It was biochemistry. So it's
mm,
nothing to do with what I'm doing now, but it does actually in a way because I'm really interested in the biochemistry of the body, in
yeah.
terms of how we are happy, sad. It does affect our biochemistry. It affects our and our brain at many levels.
Mm,
So for a long time, I was interested in psychology, but obviously, when your parents are pushing you to doing something like science,
mm,
you feel under pressure. So yeah, it was yeah, a difficult time, very very difficult.
yeah. No, I see what you mean. And I think as well, when you're at university, especially if your parents want you to do a certain subject and you're 50-50 about it. But like you said, it's kind of funny how, like you said, you did science and that kind of interlinks, in a way in what you're doing now. So it
Yeah,
kind of comes full circle, doesn't it?
it did come full circle at the time, maybe because I did think, why am I doing this? I remember in my first year in university, I actually ventured over into the psychology department because it obviously something drew me in there, and I thought, oh, actually, I want to do this. I
Yeah.
remember going to a phone box. This is in 1988,
Mm,
and using our mobile phones and ringing up at the university, and then ringing the admissions tutor, being put through to the admissions, and saying, "Oh, can I swap courses, please?" And
yeah.
they, "What are you doing? What kind of grades?" I said, "Yeah, we could allow it, but you'd have to wait until next year, next academic year." And I thought, oh,
Mm,
really? So I knew at that time, this is a long time ago, that something to do with psychology is what I wanted to do. I didn't know
Mm,
why, but it just interested me. The mind interested me at that time. Yeah.
yeah. No, that's it. And I think like when you're at university, that kind of like time frame, isn't there, when you can join a course and when you can switch. And
Yeah.
um, but I think like people are interesting, and I think you've got to go with your kind of gut, haven't you? Your kind of gut feeling of what you want to do, whatever that is. And I think it's good that you've pursued that, and you've been a coach for quite some time now. And like, have you like what would you say would you say like you've seen how you've grown in that time, and shifted and helped other people?
Yeah. You know, I think I started to look into personal development in the 90s.
Mm,
And I came across a book by a gentleman called Keith Harrell called Attitude is Everything.
mm,
And that was really the first game changer for me personally in terms of self help and personal development. And then I came across Anthony Robbins
yeah.
and I started reading all this. And it just made sense to me that, oh, well, I'm okay. I am. I deserve to be happy, you know.
Mm,
I'm not, you know, you can change, and it's just that feeling of right, okay, I want to be more confident, I want to be me, I want to be able to be more comfortable in my own skin, and for a long time I wasn't, you know. And so I then knew that I wanted to do something to do with psychology or counseling, wellness, therapy. I looked at many things. At that By that time, actually, Adam, I'd been to university again, so I'd achieved my second degree, which was optometry. So I became an optometrist,
yeah.
and that was a safety route, to be honest, Adam, because
Mm,
I thought I need to do something which is 9 to 5, and I need to get a wage, a salary, and just survive. You know, I wasn't confident in doing anything else. So, and then you become over time, you become unfulfilled with your job and you want to do what you were meant to do, you know. And I thought it's something to do with helping people, but I didn't know what. And I remember after one drunken night out in the late 90s or early millennium, I came back to my flat and just felt disillusioned and felt a bit lonely, but felt, what am I doing in life? You just have these thoughts, what am I doing? And I got onto online, and it was at the time of dial-up internet.
I
Might have
remember
been
that
the same
briefly.
time. Yeah, dial-up, and it took about 5 minutes just to switch the thing on and then get this. There wasn't Google at the time. I don't think it was Yahoo. So I looked on, psychology, psychotherapy, psychiatry. I remember looking, thinking, no, no, I don't want any of this. I don't want to do the medication thing. What is it? And then I came across that same night life coaching. I thought,
Mm,
this. And then I came across Tony Robbins and I thought, wow, this is for regular people with issues. And do you know when something strikes a chord with you, something resonates with you straight away? You don't know why, you don't know how. At that moment I thought, this is for me. This is,
mm,
and then over like anyone else, I procrastinated, thought about it for a while, mentioned to a few people, and they said, life coaching, what's that? What's that? You don't want to do that. You're an optician. Relax.
yeah.
And but I fought my natural instincts. Thought no, 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 and then I looked into it and I started training and back in 2004. That's when I started really moving forward with it. Against
Mm,
all advice, people say no, no, you shouldn't be doing that because when something you do something which is different to what everyone else thinks you should be doing, but your heart says to you, this is what I want to do. If you want to be a musician or you want to be an artist, do what your heart says. What makes your soul sing? And Adam, I don't have any regrets. It's a
mm,
long journey. We're 16 years, almost 20 years down the line from thinking about it, and yeah, written a book on what I thought was I've learned during this last almost 20 years on any client, all the you know 1,000 people I've worked with in workshops and private clients. There's something in there in everyone's psychology which is they're holding on to something, you know,
Mm.
and they put it in their mental rucksack. They're carrying around that backpack, and that could be weighing them down. It could be anything, like a failure in school, or they were told something by a teacher that's still in
Mm.
their subconscious, or their relationship had failed, or something happened between their parents and they saw it when they were a kid. There were many, many things which cause us to think and feel a certain way. And I truly believe, hand on my heart, that if people were to let go of some stuff in their head, they would,
Mm.
how would they feel? You know, if I were to ask you, if you were to let go of the bad things that happened in your past, Adam,
Mm.
any bad
Mm.
things, how would you feel? One word.
Relieved.
Yeah, relieved. Yeah,
Yeah.
I do that so many times. People say free, relieved, happy, lighter.
Mm.
So it's just that question that I love asking people. You know.
Yeah. No, that's great, and I think it's really powerful. What you just spoke about, and that journey that you kind of been on, and trying to find your feet and doing something that you want to do, regardless of what everyone else is telling you to do and pointing you towards. And I think that's it takes a lot of strength and courage to do that. I think, doesn't it, to choose and hone in on something that you really want to do, especially when there's a lot of pressure around you,
Yeah.
especially if you're comparing yourself to what other people are doing as well. Because there's nothing wrong with doing certain jobs, but a lot of people get swayed into doing them because they don't want to feel lesser than as a person for whatever reason.
Yeah.
But it reminds me of kind of similar to what I went through, because you said you was at university and you was doing a course.
Mm,
I went to university. I had to retake my maths, go on F in maths, and then I went to university and did criminology.
mm,
And I've always kind of had a fascination, like you said, with the mind and how people work. But I knew I didn't want to be a criminologist. I knew I didn't want to go into the police side of things. But
right.
I actually found Tony Robbins as well, and I
Yeah.
was researching, coaching and psychology, and I had a similar kind of realization to you, where I was like, oh yeah, coaching. Um, but it's funny, isn't it? Because you have to kind of go on that journey. You have to try those things out to kind of get to that place, if that makes sense, don't you? And I think it's great
Yeah.
that you was able to kind of realize that and do that. And and over time, you said you've got these, you've built up all this experience and you've written a book and you're doing workshops and things like that.
Yeah. I honestly, I love what I do. Um, and I was talking to someone this morning that in life you just have to try and do what you love doing. And
Mm.
unfortunately, we get sidetracked. We see somebody's doing something and it looks really trendy or attractive that what they're doing, or really fashionable, and they, oh, I'll do that,
Mm.
when really reach into yourself and say, what do I love? Well, what do I love doing? Is it meeting people, or do I love being by myself and working alone, or do I love art or music? And if you can find something you love, and even something that you'll do for free, everything else will follow eventually.
Mm.
And push aside the money and the rewards. Do what you love. And for the first few years of me coaching, I did it for nothing. I just did it, because I wanted to be better, train,
Mm.
and learn and observe people as I'm coaching them. And I think I did it the way I was meant to do it. And
Mm.
I loved it, and I love the fact. And when I see people struggling, I say, listen, just keep moving forward. Keep moving forward. There'll be many days when you want to give up. Many days we wake up in the morning and ask ourselves that one question: is this worth it?
Mm.
Is it worth it? And many times have I said to myself, I just felt like giving up. I've given up. But you just got to keep going. And if anybody's out there is thinking about giving up, and just follow what your heart says. Your brain sometimes tells you, oh, no, just give.
Mm.
And
Mm.
we do compare our life against others. You might see if somebody set up a business, you think, oh, that looks really good. Maybe I should do that. Keep on your journey. I
Mm.
always think one game changer for me, it's in the book, is it's one sentence: everyone is on their own journey. And for me, Adam, that stopped me from comparing my life to others, which I
Mm.
feel is a big problem these days, especially on social media.
Yeah. Yeah, no, exactly. And I think that's a really, really good point, that everyone is on their own path and everyone is on their own journey. And the moment you look at someone else's life and what they've got or what they're doing, it can kind of shatter your self esteem a little bit. And I think you have to stay on that path and that course. And like you said, your mind, part of your brain will go, "Oh, don't do this," or "Why are you doing this?" And I've had days. I think that's it's not letting that overtake you and kind of channeling that out and reframing that, isn't it? And I think
Yeah.
I've had that with some days of podcasts, or like I remember when I first started it, I did like 30 episodes, and I was like, "What am I doing?" Like, is it going to take off, kind of thing? Like thinking too far ahead, and looking at other people's and what they're doing, and you have to stay on that path, don't you? And I spoke to someone yesterday, and I was like, "I've only done 20 episodes." I'm like, it doesn't matter how many you've done, just as long as you're doing it, you're doing it.
You're right, and I think for me, what I've identified, Adam, just one of the things that people who are eventually successful do is they have consistency. And I really do believe consistency is the glue to success in any area of your life. You've got to be consistent. And
Mm.
it's hard. It's bloody
Mm.
hard.
Yeah.
There will be days when you are feeling tired and exhausted, and you just got to move forward. Just keep moving forward, even if it's 1% a day. In one
Mm.
year, that's 365% you've improved.
Mm.
And
Mm.
there will be many people, many people, Adam, who just give up before the finishing line. There's I was thinking about this morning. It's funny we're talking about this. I was thinking about a story I'd read years ago in a book, and it was about back in the 1800s there was the Californian gold rush, where
Yeah.
they discovered little amounts of gold in California, and then suddenly from all over America, Adam, there were people leaving their town or the city heading for California because of this gold rush. They wanted to own some land, and people were buying up land, and whole families were mining the ground for gold.
Wow.
And the interesting thing was, in the story, this family, they bought this mine, and they were mining away, and the father of the family, he was slightly impatient. They weren't seeing
Mm.
any results. And they were mining away, and he'd had other people working for him. And it was about 9, 10 months into the journey. They were mining, and they hadn't seen any gold. And around them, they saw a couple of people who had gold, and they started comparing their life to theirs, comparing the success. And then he started having a conversation with his wife, and he thought, well, maybe we should sell up and go back to Boston, go back to the
Mm.
got back to the East Coast. And she said, oh no, let's try a bit longer for another couple of months. So he said, oh, okay, we'll try for a couple of more months. And a couple of months went by, Adam, and not a single sight of gold. So they
Mm.
put the mine up for sale, and then they sold it to another family,
Mm.
let's say from Chicago.
Mm.
So they left this mine thinking, God, we've got some money for this mine. Thank goodness for that. Let's go. Let's leave. They're not going to find a thing. So this family from Chicago moved in. And they set up a company, started mining. Within a month, they found the largest strike of gold in Californian history.
Wow.
In a month, they were just a month away. The first family, a month away from finding. They left it. The second family, the largest. They were millionaires overnight. So sometimes we just give up just before
Mm.
the finishing line. So that story always resonated with me, Adam. So I just carry on. Just don't,
Mm.
love what you do. Don't give up. Don't give up. It might take years. Some people take
Mm.
5 years. Some people take 20 years. Doesn't matter. Just keep going. Keep going.
Mm.
Um, but I thought for me that story does ring true for a lot of people.
Mm. Yeah. No, I appreciate you sharing that story, and I think that's really powerful, and it really puts things into perspective, doesn't it? Like, I've seen a picture which is similar to that, and there's a picture of this guy. It's like a cartoon, and there's one guy, with his mining axe, and he's picking away,
Mm,
and behind where he is like, the gold or the diamonds. And
mm,
then there's the other guy who's below him mining, and he's walking away. But yeah, like you said, there is that, the gold there. He's just giving up, fractions,
yeah.
fractions away from that success. And I think it's quite it's quite scary, isn't it? Because it's that thin line, isn't it? It's that thin line of where how far some people, how close some people are to reaching that goal, and then they give up fractions away from it. And then
Mm,
it's like you said, it's just consistency and keeping at it, whatever that is.
mm,
And Joe Rogan podcast. Yeah, I looked at some of his older stuff from like 7 years ago, and
mm,
I'm like, wow. And then I looked at like where he is today and the Spotify deal, and it, like, he's just, like you said, just kept at it.
mm,
And like you said, if he hadn't have, if he would have cancelled it a year ago, he
mm.
wouldn't have had that, that deal. And
Yeah, yeah, it's true. It's you just got to keep going. You just got to, Adam, just got to be yourself. And it's
mm,
easily said, be yourself, but it literally people they can, they see who you are, And I
mm,
always say, people invest in people, people buy people, and they love, the more authentic
yeah,
you are, the better, And again, the biggest problem, I think, one of the biggest problems that say inside it is people are looking on Instagram or social media, any social media, and they're mistakenly comparing their life to others. They don't need to, because
yeah,
a lot of stuff you see online from people's lives is not even true. It's just a representation of what you think it is. Everyone's got problems. Everyone,
mm,
my life isn't perfect. No one's life is
mm,
perfect. You could be a billionaire called Elon Musk. It's not
mm,
perfect. They're human beings,
mm,
and they wake up and they have issues, problems, and we
mm,
all just have to deal with them. It's really, I found out that the quicker you can let go,
mm,
you can let go of a conversation which didn't go your way yesterday, and it might
mm,
piss you off. So just
mm.
let go of it. Because if you're still talking about it a few days later, it's weighing you down. You know,
Yeah,
quicker you can let
yeah,
go of being disappointed by someone in business 5 years ago and stop ranting and raving about them. Uh,
mm,
you can unload that mental backpack. That rucksack,
mm,
unload it because it eventually will wear you down. If I hold this cup here, initially it's quite light.
yeah,
But if we're going to be there for an hour and I'm going to keep holding this, eventually it's going to be
mm,
heavy. It's going to weigh me down.
mm, mm,
And our mind is the same. It might start off as something light, but if we carry on, it will develop from a snowball into an avalanche, and it will envelope us. So we have to be
mm.
careful, and that's where I thought, well, if people could let go quicker, life could be so much
Yeah,
easier.
yeah. No, I think that's a really good point. And I think, like, sometimes people are probably unaware that they're holding on to stuff, and they're just holding on to stuff and holding on to stuff. And I've had that conversation with people. I'm like, just move on. I'm like, it's the past, it's not, that's been and gone kind of thing. And,
Mm,
it's, and it takes a lot of self awareness, doesn't it? I walked past this place that I used to work,
mm,
and I just kind of, I'd quit. I just kind of didn't, I just kind of like walked out because I was stressed and it was busy and I wasn't happy. And I never kind of like resolved it with the boss.
mm,
And I walked past the other day, and he was in there, and it was on my mind, and I felt this kind of like, ah, that kind of guilt kind of thing.
mm,
So I like knocked on the door, and I just said, "I can have a quick chat." And I kind of apologized, and I said, sorry about what happened, X, Y, Z.
mm,
Um, I hope you're okay. And he said, "I hope you're all right." And then I went home, and then afterwards, I felt better doing that because, like you said, that I wasn't aware of it until I walked past. But it kind of, I felt heavy. I felt like a heavy burden because, but it does weigh down on you, and it's not healthy for you, is it? And that's just like one example. If you've got 10 different things that are weighing down on you,
mm. That's true, and it's as you said, it's a bit, it's when you think about it and you're more aware of it and you reflect in it, um, you get good at it. So you could arrive, say, on a weekend, and you can just look back at your week and say, right, what did I really enjoy about this week? What did I not enjoy about this week? You know, what do I choose to let go now from this week so that next week is better? And it gives you that opportunity. And if you did that weekly, Adam, that's 52 times a year you could let go of stuff. And like you said, you could speak to someone, you could ring someone up and say, listen, I know we didn't get on Tuesday night at the meeting, but I'd like to say appreciate your time, and that's bygone be bygones. If we can do that quicker, in that instance, it makes life easier. Otherwise, it festers in the background, and you say you passed in a place and you're triggered. You have a reminder, and that means you didn't let it go until that moment, until you spoke to that guy and you knocked the door. And sometimes it takes a brave person to just say, listen, we agree to disagree, but let's move on. Let's move on.
Yeah. No, that's it. And I think it's definitely like one of those things like that people, I think, just some people hold grudges and some people don't. And like I couldn't be that person who holds grudges. And I think like I did in the past, you see someone and you avoid them and you cross the road and that kind of thing. And I think, like you said, it's important and it's better for your well being because over time, it's you know, something may happen to that person, and you're like, oh, I should have said something to that. I should, then it's not resolved, and then there's nothing you can do about it. But like, I like in your book, 'cause I was reading over it, some of the things you sent out, the extracts, and uh, I like one of your quotes. It was like, life isn't easy. It's a work in progress. Life life plateaus the moment you start working on yourself,
Mm.
and you may slip backwards. And I think that's true, isn't it? Because I think like everything's a process and a work in progress, and we are. And if we're not moving forward to something or growing in some way, I feel that like you stagnate. You have to have something you're growing in, or
Mm. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And when you're doing something you love, you feel alive.
mm,
And I remember working with a client, and he'd gone from being Mr. Angry to Mr. I love life, and I'm more grateful than ever before. And his mum, his sister, they said, "Man, David, he's really changed. He's really changed. He was Mr. Reactive before, but he's literally let stuff go." I remember speaking to him, one of our sessions, and he said, I love surfing, David." I said, "Oh yeah." He said, "I go surfing." I said, "Well, what happens when you're surfing?" He said, "When I'm surfing," he said, "man, there are no thoughts going through my head. I'm just in the now. I'm not thinking
mm,
about anything of the past. I'm not thinking about the future. I'm just grateful for this moment." He said, "I'm going to use it as one of the tools to let it go, because
mm,
part of the let it go process is do things you love.
mm,
Do things you try and do things. I know we're in a challenging time at the moment, but do things you love. And if you can do a bit of exercise, do some exercise. If you can do some reading, do things which feed your soul.
mm.
It sets you to a path where, as you say, you're growing, you're developing, and you're exposing your mind to stuff that feeds you rather than focusing on perhaps the negative news, the negative
Mm.
news, or having conversations with people who are just derogatory about everything, including the world. That's not really going to help you grow.
Yeah. No, that's a really great point. And, like focusing on the things that resonate with you and the things that you love, they're going to benefit how you feel in your life and how you ultimately, interact with other people, isn't it? It just shows like that relationship that you have with yourself, it's kind of like the relationship you have with other people. And it just kind of like ripples, doesn't it? And I think as well with surfing, I mean, I've never tried surfing, I should. But apparently it's really good for like your ego because like you can't control those waves that are coming. And I remember Joe Rogan, he talked about it and he said like this is why people who do surfing is like they don't really have much of an ego because they get battered by a wave, and you can't really be puffing your chest out if you get smashed by a wave, kind of thing. So, but no, I think it's important, like you said, just to let go and do the things you love and try them out. Because you got another quote here, and it said, "Letting go releases ourselves from the past."
Yeah, with the book, even though the book is called "Let It Go: How to Stop Your Past Ruining Your Future," there are huge parts of the book which, for example, someone who's a warrior,
Mm,
who's maybe an anxiety sufferer, somebody who's just overthinks. If you just even analyze that, all the worries that we ever have are always future based.
yeah.
So if you're lying there at night worrying, it could be you're worrying about, are you going to be able to pay your mortgage? You're worrying about how you're going to lose weight before the holiday.
Mm,
You're worrying about what's going to happen in the meeting tomorrow. All these are future based. So you're lying there at night,
mm,
you're thinking about stuff that hasn't happened. Very
mm,
rarely do warriors think about the past. It's all about future based. Future based. So you're worrying about. That's what worrying is. It's us going into the future and actually trying to second guess something's going to happen. I mean, have you ever basically been on walking somewhere or on the shower, and you're there, you're in a good mood,
mm.
and then suddenly you're starting to have a conversation with someone who's not even there, and you're
Yeah.
oh, they say this, I said that, and then in that conversation, this imaginary conversation you're on with this person, could be your best friend, you're suddenly in a mood, and
Mm,
they're not even there, and then
yeah.
you step out to your shower and you think you're in a bad mood because you've worked yourself up in your state, and you're thinking about something that's future based that hasn't happened. And back to when you said about to add to what you said about the surfing the wave, of course, because you're actually trusting the waves, you're trusting yourself at that time, you're trusting that
Mm,
everything's going to be okay, and you're at the mercy of the waves. But there's a lot of uncertainty because anything can happen in the sea, obviously,
mm,
but you're actually trusting everything's going to be okay.
mm,
And that is, if you take that into real life, if people could trust that, for example, when you're waiting at the altar, she's going to turn up. That you
mm,
stop worrying, she's going to turn up. Or she's worried about, will she get into the wedding dress before the wedding?
mm, mm,
What we're saying is, will I? What if this happens? We're not trusting it's going to happen. And a
mm.
quick question you can ask yourself is, how many things that you've ever worried about, honestly, have come true? What percentage of the things in your life that
Mm.
you worried about come true? What's your answer to that? What percentage?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say a very small percentage.
Right.
um,
Yeah.
I I think sometimes if you can focus on things, sometimes they can happen. Like if you I think if you're if I've been rushing or worrying to get to work, like when I was doing hospitality, I'm probably more likely to stub my toe on something or something like that. So, but like they're like minor things. But I think major things of worry, they haven't really happened because, like you said, it's just kind of your kind of negative self talk and like imagination almost, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And we always say we work ourselves up into a state,
Mm,
and we have something what psychologists call catastrophe thinking. We just think the worst, and we don't trust it, even though there's evidence to show that most of our worries have not come true. I think
mm,
psychologists have done studies, and it's something like under 10%, like
mm.
8%. That means you've got a 92%
Yeah,
of everything going okay. That's pretty good.
yeah.
Uh,
I had it the other night because we had like thunderstorms in the UK,
mm,
didn't we? The other night, and
yeah.
um, I was watching the news and they said that because of the humidity or something like that, the clouds are lower.
Mm,
So the thunder was a lot louder because obviously it was lower to
mm,
the ground. And I got woken up at 4:30 the other morning, and it was like a bang, bang, bang explosion sound.
mm,
And I was wide awake, and I didn't know if I was just dreaming or if it was a noise outside. But anyway, I started thinking, oh, the thunder is going to hit my house.
Mm,
It's going, all these, catastrophic worries,
mm.
like, oh, is the thunder going to hit my house? Is it going to hit me? And I couldn't sleep for like 2 hours after that because I'd got into that kind of worried state.
Mm.
And it made me realize that kind of primitive part of us that can instantly go to that fight or flight. And I thought to myself, the power of the universe and everything else, and kind of how we are as people. We don't really have control of all of the stuff going on around us, but how we kind of react to it. If that makes sense,
Yeah,
it's going around my head for ages.
yeah, absolutely. We there's a power statement in the book. Um, there's a chapter called Power Statements in the book, and it's based on the courses I've delivered over the years. And one of the
Yeah.
power statements is the only variable I can control is myself.
Mm.
Which means we can't control the weather. You can't control if somebody is going to do something that's going to go your way. Everything is variable. These are all variables. So we can't control how it's going to be next Friday night when we go out. To the pub, who's going to be there. We just have, the only thing we can manage is our own state, our own self.
Mm.
And there's times when we are, of course, you're on a plane
Yeah,
and
I've
you're
had that.
turbulence flying over the Atlantic, and you're thinking, "Oh my God, is it going to be me?"
Yeah.
Though it's planes go over the Atlantic all the time, it might put somebody off flying for life. They
Mm.
might think, "Well, this must be flying." It could be their first ever flight. They have turbulence, and that's it. It puts them off flying because they think they're going to be involved in a plane crash. When really the stats show, as the famous stats show, that plane flying is very, very safe. But
Mm.
in their head, they have this belief now, which is in the blueprint.
Mm.
Um, right on the blueprint, the belief is flying is not safe, and I'm not going to risk my life. That's it. Once a
Mm.
person thinks that, they're highly unlikely to make an easy step into flying. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, no, that's interesting, isn't it? How we all kind of have, our own kind of blueprint and how blueprints work. And I think, because I wrote that down as well, because there's a diagram in the book and it's like blueprint, thoughts, feelings, and then there's action behaviors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And it's based on the model which um, I created based on CBT, but I added a blueprint part to it, which is basically our blueprint contains our belief system, what we think is true. You
Mm.
know, it contains our values, what's most important things in our life, like security, safety, freedom, joy, family, whatever, money. If you know anyone who's very, very money orientated, right near the top of their list of values is money. Simple as that. You might have somebody who is a big adventurer. Adventurers near the top of their list of values. So you'll find them on a mountain climbing. You'll find them
Mm.
jumping out of a plane, because they're an adventure seeker. So you know how a person lives their life by their values. That's in there. The fears are in there. Our fears are in there. So if you imagine the blueprint is like a chest of drawers, and in each
Mm.
drawer is a system. So your values, your beliefs, your memories, which are very skewed, because you might have a
Mm.
memory of something that happened in your childhood, and your sibling or your parents will have a totally different memory of the event. Who's right?
Mm.
Because the
Yeah,
brain,
yeah.
the brain deletes and distorts. And then you've got your what I call a toxic thinking trap, which is how are you comparing your life to others? Are you always blaming people, complaining, judging, criticizing? So that's the draw for that. And then there's an emotional needs drawer where some people are more needy for love. Some people
Mm.
need security. Some people love variety. Some people are very much invested in connection. Some
Mm.
people need you to make them feel important. So that's in there as well. And imagine this system in place. And this system, that's called your mental blueprint, then produces your thoughts.
Mm.
So if you are thinking angry thoughts, you'll be feeling angry. That's the next part, step 3. And then step 4 then is you're quite reactive, so you're very reactive. So you could have happy thoughts, you're feeling happy, and then your behavior is that you're quite clear in what you want to do in life and you're focused. There might be somebody who's have nervous thoughts because they're going into a meeting, so they're feeling nervous. And then when they're in the meeting, if you're feeling nervous, guess what? The people around you are going to feel your nervous energy, isn't it? Have you been around someone who's
Yeah.
nervous? You can feel their energy. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's I put it in a way so people can understand. Oh, actually, okay, this thinking, feeling, and behavior, okay, but the blueprint part is the part you can change. You can change that.
Mm.
If somebody comes up to you and say, Adam, come on, man, be positive, and puts their arm around you, you feel like swinging for them because you don't know how I'm feeling. You know, because they say, "Oh, be positive." Well, you think, "Well, you don't know what I've been through," and it's true they don't, but they
Mm.
want to help you. But you think, so what's happened in your blueprint is something that perhaps has happened to you, and you want to change the way you look at it. So
Mm.
it could be that you've had a really hard year, and nobody knows how you've been feeling. Nobody knows what you've gone through, and then somebody says, "Be positive," and it gets you annoyed. Yes,
Mm.
but you do know that you can change, but it's got to come from you.
Yeah.
Message. It's an inside job, should we say?
Mm. Yeah. No, I think that's really great points that you mentioned, and I think like
Thank you.
it just shows you, doesn't it, how you could take, for example, 10 people and put them into a scenario, and each of those people are going to have a different experience in that situation, like you said, probably, down to their blueprint and, their beliefs and all these values, isn't it? Like a boardroom meeting or something like that, or a scenario where they have to do something.
Mm,
And I think that's what, like you said, as well, like each person has those kind of different set of values. Like I remember, one of my ex-girlfriends, she could book a flight like that in a heartbeat and be like, "Oh, let's go there next week."
mm.
Whereas I'm like, "Whoa, hang on a sec," and I but I think it's interesting how, like I said, people have these differences and how people work, and I think with all these differences, it just shows you how people can clash and how people can, vibe and get on. It just, I find it really fascinating. Like for me, I couldn't just compulsively book a flight straight away. Part of me would have to think about it and plan a little bit probably, or look at the reasons why, or whereas some people can just go, okay, fine, done it, done, going.
Yeah, you got see, we've all got like a different mental filter. That blueprint I mentioned to you, and in your blueprint, it might be that you need certainty. Where are we going? Where are
Yeah.
we coming from? How much is it going to cost? Have I got the time? How am I going to
Mm.
feel? Where we, and you need all the certainty and security about the situation. Where with her, it could have been, right, I'm just going
Yeah.
freedom. I don't need that certainty. I'm just going. Life's an adventure.
Yeah.
If we mess it up when we're there, we mess it up. With you, it's like,
Yeah.
oh no, I can't do that. I need
Yeah.
to know.
Mm.
So we all have this different filter. I call the blueprint, and because of that, we've got different hurdles or gateways that the information has to pass through. Some people more than
Mm.
others. You
Mm.
might say to someone, "Oh, I want to start a business."
Mm.
A person say, "Oh no, I couldn't do that. I need to
Yeah.
know, I need to be employed. I need to have the money coming in every month. A business sounds risky. I can't do
Yeah.
that."
Yeah.
So, but you might be a high risk person. Say, "Oh no, no, let's do it. It's let's
Yeah.
do this." So
Mm.
some people are high risk, some people are low risk. So you're going to
Mm.
clash.
Mm.
But who's right or who's wrong? You've just got to respect that everyone's got different opinion. It may not match yours,
Mm.
but for us to understand that we're all different. We're all equal.
Yeah.
We're very different just the way we think.
Yeah. No, I agree. And yeah, I ended up, going on this trip that I mentioned, a while back, and
Mm,
it kind of opened me up more to that kind of, being more relaxed around, you know what I mean? Not thinking so much into traveling and all, the variables and just kind of doing it. So
mm,
it just shows you sometimes you just need to just step out of your comfort zone, just step into, that thing. And I think
mm.
that's how people can make you grow you know, as a person, can't they? Certain relationships can kind of challenge you and make you grow. Um, and it's all kind of like for a reason, isn't it? And
Yeah.
I think it's really interesting. And in the book as well, you mentioned like the concept, which I really liked. So I've never seen this before. Of like the balloon,
Mm,
and you said like, you know, life. I couldn't read my handwriting. That's really bad. Life is a beautiful hot air balloon, and the sandbags, you know, like doubts and fears,
mm,
that are, you know, kind of holding you down. And
mm,
as you're in the hot air balloon, you know, you're letting go of these sandbags, which are ultimately, you know, the fears and the doubts.
mm.
Um, and that's a really great way, you know, great perspective.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it's a lot of people are waiting to take off, you know, in their hot air balloon, they're in the basket and they're
Mm,
wondering why. And if you look over the side, these sandbags are weighing the balloon down, and yeah, they represent many things. They represent, fear of failure, fear of success, fear of not being liked, fear of the unknown, self-criticizing oneself, not forgiving oneself. You know, all these little things are weighing someone down. But once you let go, your life can rise to a different level. But it's often we are doing the things to ourselves which are stopping ourselves from developing and growing. And yeah, the hot air balloon analogy. Yeah, yeah, I put it in the book. Yeah, thank you for your comments.
no, you're welcome. Yeah, it's I think it's really important, you know, and I think like you mentioned as well, you know, not having regrets and stop putting off, you know, I'll do it later. Um, you know, those, you know, those kind of things that we can do, I'll say we'll do it later. You know, and kind of just doing it now.
Procrastination. I always think that the five words which drive procrastination are "I will do it later," and we've all said it and done it, and for a variety of reasons, we say it because at that time it makes us feel comfortable. I will do it later. You know, we
Mm,
put something off, which could be good for us, but we put it off. Um, when I've done workshops on procrastination, how to overcome it, some people have said, I put it off. I'm trying to avoid responsibility. So they put it off.
mm,
Some people said, I do it. I put it off because it makes me feel anxious at that time. I'm feeling a bit stressed and anxious. Put it
mm,
off. Some people say, you know, I feel overwhelmed. So there's many reasons why we procrastinate. It is to avoid feeling a certain way. So we procrastinate.
mm.
And how many times in our life have you done something and you said to yourself, oh, that was not as bad as I thought it was. That was
Yeah.
easier than I thought it was. You know, we just had this mental picture in our head and we
Mm,
put it off.
yeah. No, that's it. I almost kind of did that with driving. You know, when I was learning to drive, like there was
Yeah.
parts of me where I got so far into it, I was like, oh, it's just too much, you know?
Mm,
And it's quite dangerous, you know, when you think that, because it's like all that effort and that work that you just put into it up to that point. You know,
mm,
you could be 3 months into it, 4 months into it, and if you just stop,
mm.
you know, you've got to go back over again.
Yeah.
You know, and that time is just kind of not kind of wasted in some way. You've got to go back over it. And with the procrastination, it makes me think about me because my this is like a small example. My
Mm,
mum will say, "Can you make me a cup of tea or coffee?" And I'll say, "I'll do it in a minute." And then that I'll do it in a minute. It's kind of like 20 minutes might go by, and there's not a minute. And
yeah.
my mum's like, why haven't you done it? I told you, you know, you always say in a minute."
Yeah.
Um, and I think, like you said, if you say that you're caught up doing something else, and you want to stay with that relaxed feeling because you're sat down, you don't have to, you know, get up if you say I'm going to do it in a minute. Probably
Yeah.
no, it's
Yeah, it's true. It's 1 minute becomes 20 minutes is really easy, and we all do it.
yeah,
It's the it's really the major things that we could be doing. We're stopping. You might somebody say, "Oh, I want to lose weight," and they, you know, someone says, "I got this. You know, there's this great program online. There's a great book. You know, it might be useful to you," and you'll say, "Ah, yeah, I'll do it later," and you just put it off. So
mm,
I always say that when the emotion to change is greater than your excuses you're currently telling yourself, you take action. Until then, you'll just sit still. And there's got to be an emotional reason, Adam, why you have to make that change. So, during lockdown, I had lockdown weight like a lot of people.
Yeah.
I put on about a stone, or way over a stone, and I then thought, no, I've got to lose this. For health reasons, I'm going to lose this. I have to.
Mm.
I went about in August, September, losing it, so I've lost it all now.
Yeah.
I feel better because I was just feeling sluggish,
Yeah.
mentally not at the races, just eating chocolate every night and all sort of goodies. And it was
Yeah.
just comfort food because we're all in a time when we're thinking, how are we going to get out of this?
Yeah.
That uncertainty. So, yeah, we all do it. It's just, I always believe that we have to go to the mind gym and work on ourselves every single day. Just do a little bit
Mm.
every single day.
Mm.
And that's, I mean, the book is absolutely chock a block with tools and strategies, tips, advice all the way through. And somebody can use it for a manual and refer to it any time, which I designed it that way. So it's really easy. So a teenager could read it, and somebody said, "Oh, but can my grandmother read it?" I said, "Yeah, actually, yeah."
Mm.
Some of my clients are in their 60s and 70s, so it's you've seen it. It's got illustrations in there and scenarios, case studies, and exercises at the end of every chapter, which is to help people because at the end of the day, you're going to get up and you're going to feel like shit some days. You
Mm.
want something to, how do I get past this? So yeah, that's why I designed the book so people could get past. It would just help you. It asks you a couple of questions or gives you an exercise, and that could change your mindset for the morning. Makes
Mm.
make life so much easier in work or in your relationship. If you're in
Yeah.
the mood. And again, said it earlier on. It's an inside job. You've got to do it yourself.
Mm.
No one can change your mindset. You've got to do it yourself.
No, I think they're really great points, and I like, for instance, I was looking at some of the extracts that you sent forward.
Mm.
I really, really like the way you structured it.
Oh,
From what
thank
from what I've seen,
you.
and you're welcome, and the exercises as well. And you ask those questions that really get you thinking,
Mm.
and they're not deep, deep, deep questions that are hard to kind of think about. They kind of straightforward and hit the nail on the head. And
Mm.
is it one of them I've got written down here? How will your life change if you let go of what's holding you back? And it makes you just put yourself into that area where you just think about it, and you start kind of thinking ahead, and
Mm.
how, if you let go of XYZ, how you're going to feel. And um I've written another one down. Yeah, really straightforward exercises, I find, and I really like them, and I think the way you've worded it and structured it is really, really good.
Thank you. Thank you, man.
No,
Mm.
you're welcome. And I think that's what people want, isn't it? They want something that's kind of short and simple and easy to kind of do and work on.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. It's something that I when I first started writing, I thought I wanted to design it so you can keep it in your bag, your rucksack, your handbag, whatever. So anytime you can just go to any chapter because it's got that same layout and think, right, what are the exercises or what kind of question can I ask myself this morning? Or there's a lot of it is practical techniques. Like there's an exercise in there called the letter, and I remember. Could I share this? Could I share this exercise with you? Uh, and and
Yeah, of course.
it's 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 called the letter, and it's basically asking you to, these days the art of letter writing is just about dead. Who writes letters these days? It's just text messages and emails.
Mm.
I remember asking a group in one of the classes. I said, well, listen, I want you to write a letter to someone that you need to forgive, someone, or you need to say something loving to, or appreciative, or gratitude, or well, write a letter to someone for something, and write it and post it, even if it's someone you live with. And this particular time for this group, I remember about a month later, got an email from someone who said they'd been on one of my classes and then she wrote me an email one Saturday night. I remember, I think I should be opening emails, but I did. I opened this one, and it was a long email. And she said to me that, said, thank you for the class I attended, and that you one of the exercises you gave us to do homework was the letter. And she says, I wrote it to my father. I thought, oh, okay, where's this going? And she said, we've been estranged for 5 years. We haven't spoken. And she didn't explain why, but she said, we just had a fallout. We haven't spoken for 5 years. She said, I wrote him a letter. And in that letter was information, that she shared with the father. And she said, the father, the very next day, rang her up. She called her, and they made up over the phone. And then he came and saw his grandchild for the first time ever. His grandchild by this time was 4 years old. And she said, David, that one exercise repaired my relationship with my father just by sending him the letter, because we'd had a miscommunication between us, and we'd fallen out, like a lot of people do, and they'd repaired their relationship, and he saw his grandchild for the first time ever. And she said, thank you for that one exercise. And that's in the book, and I explain in the book how to do it, and and what way to do it. And I've had lots and lots of people send me feedback from that one exercise in the book, and she said, we managed to let go, put it behind us, and forgive each other. And she said, our relationship as father and daughter has never been better than it is now. She said, thank you. But I was, taken aback.
Wow. Wow. That's amazing. And I think it's so rewarding, like you said, that you can, for the work that you're doing, and, for your book, and these workshops and exercises that, they can really impact and, make a difference in people's lives. And I think that's really, beneficial, isn't it? Because,
Yes, thank you, man.
no, you're welcome. And I think it's so powerful, isn't it? Because like you said, that they've been talking, didn't not been on talking terms for 5+ years, and just by doing that and taking that leap and sending a letter, that he's able to see his grandchild and
Yeah,
be there, and they're talking now. And
the impact is huge, because if we take action, if we change, it's like the ripple effect. The world around us changes. If we can be better for ourselves, then we are better on other people, and we have better friendships, better relationships. We're better in our job, our business, and it has to start again. As I said, it has to start with us. Take ownership of the way we think, and when we do that, and it's like having an aha moment, like finding out, okay, yeah, I'm a people pleaser. I need to do something about this, and then you go about finding, right, why am I a people pleaser? And again, there are strategies in the book to help you overcome people pleasing, to let that go, because we're, procrastination, people pleasing, need for validation, over comparing our life. These are all pretty bad habits that people have, and if they were to let them go, they might be happier.
yeah, no, I think that's a really good point, and it makes me, think back to when I was working in one place for many years. I was a people pleaser, and I remember, I was staying in a job, that I hated, because I was worried about how the manager or the other people I work with are going to feel and think if I left. And worrying about that and pleasing, um, the bosses and people who you work for, and revolving around, their needs and not yours, and putting them on the back bench. And
Yeah.
I think, like, to some extent in hospitality, you have to kind of people please, the customers, but obviously not
Yeah.
to an extent that's, off-putting. There's that fine kind of balance with it, isn't there? But you have to, like you said, look after your own needs as well, because it's a lot of energy that goes out in people pleasing as well.
100%. The thing that when I've worked with people in the past, they say these two things. They say, I feel exhausted energetically, eventually, and they say, it's taken up so much of my time. And then I say, how do you feel then? After all these years being a people pleaser, how do you feel? What's it left you feeling towards certain people when you're people pleasing? And they say quite a few things, but there's one word that turns up a lot, and that is, they say, I eventually feel resentful.
Mm. Resentful towards those people they've been people pleasing, or just.
Towards the people that were people pleasing, and then they say, I feel annoyed at myself
Mm.
that I've given so much of my time and energy, and helping people, service is it's wonderful,
Yeah.
but there's a certain type of people pleasing which is where you're giving so much of your time and energy, you're
Mm.
forgetting about yourself. You've effectively devalued your own time and energy, and as a result, if you're feeling exhausted and emotional, it can leave you in a state of despair.
Mm.
And it's not about not helping people. It's about just reining back in those times when you can say, I remember working with people please recently, and she said, well, they're always telling me in work to, can I organize the Zoom
Mm.
session with all the colleagues, because I'm miss efficient. I say,
Mm.
so what's the problem? She said, well, I've got a young baby and I've got a husband and another child, and why doesn't somebody else take that role? But I can't I keep saying yes, you know?
Mm.
And I said, what's the reason you keep saying yes? What do you think it is? And she had a good thought, and she said, well, one of the reasons is, she said, I feel good when I do it because I get good feedback, and it makes me feel good about myself.
Mm.
I thought, really? So it makes me feel good about myself. So I can't go into what else happened.
Yeah. Yeah. Of course. Yeah.
You know, but she was getting something from the people pleasing emotionally.
Yeah. It's. I mean, I used to be in that place where I was doing that, especially front of house waitering, and when I was doing it, I was kind of running on my adrenaline and my nerves,
Mm,
and I was feeling depleted afterwards because all my energy was you know running around cortisol, trying to do my best. And I remember, I mean, how old was I? 17, 18,
mm,
and trying too hard, trying too hard. Um, and then I was, worried about making mistakes and things like this. But yeah, people will respect you, I think, more, and they're going to feel more relaxed if you're at ease and you're not trying too hard. Because I think
mm.
I recognize it, I see it in other people because I was in that, I've been in that place myself, and it kind of makes me think, what's behind that? Why are they trying too hard, or why are they pleasing so much? Like, what's behind that? Are they wanting something from me?
Mm.
It's, but like you said, that person felt resentful, and it's that yin and yang, isn't it? Because they're people pleasing, but then resentful for that energy that they've given out, and it's quite a self-destructive process in the long run, isn't it? If you're doing that a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's as I said, it's the most wonderful thing in the world to help people, of course.
Mm,
If it's costing you your happiness, there's something wrong.
mm,
There's something deeply wrong if it's costing you your happiness, your time, and your energy to the point where some people say it's costing me my health because I'm
mm,
exhausted. And if there's a
mm,
bug going around, I'm going to catch it. So they say,
mm,
that, and you just have to balance. Really, it's a balance between helping people for the right reasons, obviously,
mm.
and self care. Having
Yeah.
self care. If you plan to have a nice bath on a Thursday evening, and a bit of
Mm.
self care, and you're going to sit there and relax, read a book, and then somebody says, "Oh, can you jump onto this Zoom meeting?" Later on, and you really want to have a bath, but then you people please say, "Oh yeah, okay, I'll be there." You know,
Yeah.
that was your choice when it wasn't mandatory you were there, but you decided again to people please for some reason. So
Mm.
it's really having that, drawing that line, and
Mm.
respecting your time and energy. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when, I would finish work in the hotels and people were like, "Oh, you coming down for a drink?" And it's like I wouldn't want to go for a drink. I want to, sit at home and just relax, like I said, just have that downtime, and then
Mm,
you would then people please because you go, "Oh, okay, I'll go out,"
mm,
and then you feel like crap, and then you had not had that time to yourself, and then it's like you said, it's important just to have that bit of space and just have that kind of self care time. So then it elevates you for the next day or the next week. I think that's like, at the weekend, I, don't, I love doing podcasts anyway, so that doesn't, phase me in the weekend. But
mm,
like, I will watch a bit of TV or play a video game for a bit. And it's like if I don't have that self care time, downtime, I
mm,
can't be a better version of myself, the week ahead.
mm.
I feel burnt out just not having that sit down time.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. It's as I said, going back to do things you love in your life. Uh,
Mm,
if that's fishing, go fishing. You know,
yeah.
because your best friends don't like fishing, go by yourself. And
Mm,
you like going on nature walks, go on those. And then I used to call it the 10-pin bowling effect.
yeah.
Years gone bowling with friends, and we always say the same thing after Adam. Why do we do this more often?
Yeah.
Why do we do this more often? Yeah,
Yeah.
5 years later we do it again. But it's like
Yeah.
when I love 10-pin bowling, and we don't do it very often, and if we get people together, have a little drink, bowl, have some fun, take the mick out of each other. But seriously, on a day-to-day basis, if you can do something you love. So if you
Mm,
love reading and you tell people you love reading, but you're not reading, are you either lying to yourself, you're not really a
mm,
reader, or you're just not caring for yourself to sit down for 20 minutes, half an hour, give yourself that time, read,
mm.
read a few chapters. If that feeds your soul, why not do it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, no, exactly. And I think that's like, like people in business and, on Instagram. If people like cooking, do cooking videos. If you like gardening or, fishing, do that. Um, I've got a guy who I'm friends with, and he likes fishing, but he
Mm.
likes aquariums, like tanks and aquariums.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah,
he's setting up a business on the side,
mm,
with aquariums and fish and
right,
stuff like that. And
yeah,
and he's putting that on his Instagram, and that's and I think people have to kind of, like I said, follow what they love, like you said, as
yeah,
well.
yeah. If you have an idea, people might think you're crazy.
Yeah.
Elon Musk, they thought he was crazy to start
Mm,
making electric cars, and the car manufacturers laughed at him when they started to try and make electric cars. Well, they're not laughing anymore. But
mm.
you look at um, James Dyson was
Yeah, I saw that.
he went to the Electrolux and Hoover and said we'd like to we're looking to develop technology for a bagless Hoover, and they laughed.
Mm,
And he thought, no, we're gonna try it, and he spent millions of his own money on loans and almost went bankrupt, and took him, what was it, 5, 6, 7 years
mm,
to do it, and they did it, and they changed
yeah.
the paradigm. They just
Mm,
shifted the world, and sometimes in this world, not that sort of global level, but you can change your own world by doing something, and you
mm,
might get people around you who just don't get you.
yeah.
That's okay. That's okay.
Mm,
If you're following your heart, if your gut
mm,
feeling says, no, this is right, this feels right. Okay,
mm,
what they're saying, is makes sense, is logical, but this feels right.
mm,
Then make the change, start it.
yeah.
One of my first ever clients, Adam, was somebody who worked in an office, and she said, "Oh, David, I really want to do aromatherapy. I want to be
Mm,
a therapist and do that sort of thing." I thought, great, okay. So, but I don't know what to do. And she was stuck in life. So one of the first ever clients was being stuck. And I said, okay, fine. What would you love to do? And she said, I want to do that, aromatherapy. Maybe I'll do massage after that, or maybe I'll do Reiki healing. Okay, great.
mm,
What do you need
mm,
to do? So she made that plan the first thing was to do is to get that certification in aromatherapy. But
Mm.
she was working in an office. So how am I going to swap from that career to this career? I said, well, that may not happen overnight, but what about just getting that first client of yours?
Mm.
You know, and then she worked it out. If I did one evening a night, I could start getting clients in, you know?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then I
yeah.
said, what happens if you did then so many clients, you had to do 2 evenings a night? Oh, great, great. And then she worked out how much she could charge. A year later, it's about a year, 18 months later, I had an email from her. This is back years ago. And she said, David, thank you.
Mm.
I've left my job in the office. I left my job. I am now a full-time aromatherapist, and I'm doing this other. I'm
Mm.
a full-time clinician. I thought, wow, well done you. You know, well done you.
Mm.
You worked it. So she built it small, 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 built it up,
Yeah.
and then eventually then did less days in the office, and then she became a full-time therapist. And
Mm.
that's how the mind can work. Because sometimes we think, oh, such a massive shift needed, you know?
Mm.
You've just
Mm.
got to do one step at a time. You know, we talk about this, and people, if they just looked at each goal, so if your goal is to, um, if your goal is to set up your own cafe, it
Mm.
might take you 3 years to get the money together or the
Mm.
ideas or to find the premises. But in the meantime, keep doing your job and then work out, right, okay, maybe I need some barista training. I'll go on a course. You know, I'm
Mm.
going to find out the menus. It might take a couple of years, but some people think it needs to be done by next week. No. So work out the goal and then work backwards then.
Mm.
Then engineer it, re-engineer it backwards. Work out the little mini goals to get you there. And then it's exciting. It's exciting. It might take you 3, it might take you 2, it might take you 4. But can you imagine that you are the end of your life, you've lived a life where you did what you wanted to do. You
Mm.
did what you wanted to do. You know, and I can tell you, years ago, oh yes, I remember years ago, somebody came on one of my courses. This is true.
Yeah, yeah.
And she emailed me or texted me, said, David, you won't believe this. I said, and I looked at the rest of the message. I'm a graphic designer. And she was something like
Wow.
63 years old, right?
Mm.
63 years old. She'd been on a course, something, and she had retired early-ish from a job she'd hated, and she'd got this, you know, confidence in herself, and she went ahead and she trained at night to become a graphic designer. And she said, "Oh, Dave, I wish I'd done this years and years ago." And I did remember I
Mm.
messaged back, said, "Well, perhaps it wasn't around years ago. This is your time." Oh, I love it, Dave. I love it. I love it. So when I hear these stories of people making changes in their life, because she said she was in the 60s and she near 60 at that time when she started training, and she said it just transformed her life because she felt she had no purpose in life when she'd retired, and she just felt lost. But
Mm.
yeah, she got a qualification, graphic design, and then she started doing little logos for people and designing stuff. And hey, it's wonderful to see that. Wonderful. You can make a change at any age.
Mm. That's powerful, isn't it? And I think that's a great example and story as well, isn't it? Someone who, found something they love and they've executed on it, regardless of, like you said, the age. And I think it's like you have to make a decision, don't you, ultimately? Um,
Yeah.
like to do it. And I think age is just a number in some sense, in some way. Um, and it's just making that choice, isn't it? And she's gone on and done, graphic design, and she loves it and enjoys it. And I think as well, like I think for me this year, I've learned about what you've mentioned is like that process and patience. And sometimes I still have to check in myself and you know go to that place of being patient. But it's the process, isn't it? And it's that journey and
Mm,
those bits in between. And like you said, that woman was doing that office job.
mm,
She didn't want to do anymore, so she, well, did that other thing, but
mm,
kind of just nurtured that thing on the side. And over time, And I think as well, like working backwards as well is a really good example, and looking at it from the other way. And yeah, it's a process, isn't it? And you can make something if you want it to, over time, and just, do X, Y, Z, and fuel the other thing on the side. And I
Mm,
think for me, that's something I'm kind of in a place of as well. Like
mm,
I've been building this and my coaching, and then I'm looking for other jobs, on the side to
mm.
do alongside this. And I think I've like to hit the ground running with a lot of things, and it doesn't work like that. And I think it does take time in that process, doesn't it? But I think it is possible to ultimately do X, Y, Z and do this, and
Mm.
then when you've built that up, then you can leave the other thing.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's confidence comes from the Latin word confidere, to have faith in yourself, to trust yourself,
Mm,
and really you really have to continue. Some days you're on your knees and you're so tired, but you have to get back up, and then some days where you're on your knees, you have to get back up, just have a rest, and just tell yourself it's okay,
mm,
have some downtime. There's something that I learned from T. Harv Eker, the American coach and speaker. And he said, "Tomorrow, I can always make a comeback." And I thought, yeah, that's powerful. That's powerful.
mm.
You can have a not so good day. They happen. However,
Yeah.
it's how we respond. Do we
Mm,
get back up, or do we
mm,
sit there and feel sorry for ourselves? That's the thing. And again,
mm,
it's back to what you just said. It's you make a decision, you make a choice.
mm.
You make a choice. We have to make a choice.
Yeah. There was a podcast that I was listening to. Kevin Hart, the comedian.
Mm.
Like
Oh,
he's a really inspirational guy as well, and he's had it rough. Like he's from a really rough area in America, and
mm,
like people don't see the underbelly of the work he had to put in. The stand ups and and the work. And anyway, he mentioned Will Smith, and Will Smith went out the limelight for a while. Like you said, like no social media, no films for a while.
mm,
But Will Smith was like, I can flip that switch and I can jump back into it if
mm,
I want to. And
mm,
1 minute it was from no social media, no films to all the social media, showing people how it's done, and then doing a brand new film. I think he did Gemini Man or something like that. He
yeah.
came back, and some people can kind of do that, can't they? They can go like sit back, and then just decide, okay, I'm gonna do X, Y, Z. And
Mm, mm, mm.
I think it's that kind of comeback that sometimes people like, isn't it? Seeing someone go out the limelight and
Mm.
then just decide and then just kind of re-immerse.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like we like hope. We like
Mm,
to see a reset. We like something exciting. We like something when it's launching or relaunching. And sometimes it is good to a take a break from life. And I'd like to travel one day, which uninterrupted, which is like take 6 months off and just go and
yeah.
travel. And perhaps keep writing the next book and just do videos while I'm on the travel. But it's something that since I was a kid, I
Mm,
love traveling. I had a globe, one of those big globes in my room,
nice.
and I would look at different countries. And I was, 10 years old, and I would just look at it, and it was one of those globes which lit up. I'd just be fascinated. So it's in me to travel,
Mm, mm,
in me to travel. It's naturally in me. I don't have to be forced to do it. And um, for someone else, it might be, no, I don't want to travel. I want to live,
mm,
in this part of France or the UK for the rest of my life, wherever they are in
mm,
the world. And I'm happy to be in my village. That's fine. That's fine.
mm,
Everyone's different, and I love, staying in hotels and flying on planes. I love all that. I love
mm.
adventure and travel, but it's not for everyone. And
No.
I'm happy, respect that. There's some people who love horse riding.
Mm,
It's not my cup of tea. However, yeah, I can understand why you would love that. So
mm,
it's it's really again finding that part of you that what lights you up, and
mm,
forget about what's around you. if they lights them up, doesn't mean that it'll light you up.
mm,
What lights you up, and then go after it. Go after it to experience more of it.
yeah. No, that's a really great perspective on it, and I agree. And I think just trying it out, isn't it? Just trying it out,
Mm.
and once you try, and if it lights you up, motivates you, then do more of that, isn't it? It's
Mhm.
traveling isn't it for everyone, but I think traveling it changes your perspective. It gives you like life experience, and you go places and you see things, and it makes you think. It can change your outlook on things as well.
Yeah.
Um, as well, like, do you have any role models or mentors, growing up or now, whether that's like professionally or personally?
Yeah, I mean, growing up, I loved watching, and I still do love watching sports.
Mm,
So I loved watching, and I still do watch football. See all the great football players in the past. For my sins, well, not for my sins. I love, I love Liverpool, so I've always followed Liverpool since 1977, since I was 9 years old. So I've followed Liverpool for a long, long time. 40, what is it? 77, whatever, 43 years I followed.
yeah.
So I love that. That's a passion. I followed tennis. I remember that time McEnroe, Borg,
Mm,
Lendl. I loved that. So I'd just look at them and I'd suddenly be up to school playing tennis against
mm,
the wall by myself. So that was part of who I am. And then obviously I'm very inspired by the work of, say, Tony Robbins, Robin Sharma, Deepak Chopra, Paulo Coelho. I've read a lot. I'm inspired by the adventures of Richard Branson, what's done in his life,
mm,
and there are so many people I've probably can't think of at the moment.
mm,
I'm inspired by people who challenge themselves.
mm.
In many ways, it could be somebody who's opened a cafe near where I live.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
inspired by them. I love it, you know.
yeah,
And I'm the type of person. If I love your place, I will email your boss and tell you I love
yeah,
that person. I remember going to a popular brand of coffee chain a few months back, and well, before the lockdown, sorry,
yeah, yeah.
this year, and the service was incredible. And
Mm,
you go to a place and they make you a coffee, the service, the chat, and you're nothing
yeah.
better in life than having good conversation with someone, and they
Mm,
care. And I sent a message to their regional office. They loved it, and
nice.
I think if someone's doing a good job, we're very quick to complain around the world. If
Mm,
something goes wrong, we're quick to complain. But why not praise someone when they're doing a great job?
mm,
So, I think, and that show them a bit of love, and to their boss or whoever
yeah.
it is, or to them personally. So yeah, I really appreciate. There are heroes at every level in life. Really
Mm,
appreciate heroes from every level in life. Remember when I was a teenager, went out with my parents for dinner. My father's passed on now many years ago,
mm,
but back in the early '80s, we went out for dinner to this hotel. I remember there weren't many restaurants around, and I remember, you know, later on telling when I was a bit older, going back there, and the same waiter was there at the time, and telling me,
mm,
thank you so much, you did a great job for us," uh,
mm,
and you got to tell these people because a lot of people just don't, you know.
yeah,
Most people don't. They say, "Oh, great service of the place," and that's it. But I think if we can
yeah.
be more open with our love for those around us, during this time, the NHS, the people who are working in all the food shops, they're
Mm,
heroes. You know,
yeah.
they put their lives at risk for all of us. This you don't take it lightly, but they've been there at this time, and you can't take them lightly. They've been
Mm,
scared. Of course, they've been
mm,
scared. We've been at home. They've been scared. So there's so much to be grateful for now, Adam,
mm,
more than ever.
yeah. No, I think they're really good points, and I think, like you said as well, um, it's those perspectives, isn't it, and being grateful for everyone that's doing what they're doing, and you know putting their lives on the line, and like I think as well, being grateful for those small things as well, isn't it? Yeah, in the restaurants and the cast and in that service, and um, they're putting that extra step out there to, say thank you very much and sending an email, like you said, to the boss or whatever. But no, that's it, definitely. And like as well, like it's been great having you on the podcast. I know you after shoot you have a workshop thing, but I really appreciate you coming on, and it's been a pleasure talking to you. And where can people find you on social media or on your website and things like that?
My Instagram is David_Rahman. On Facebook as the Mind Coach. And the website is david-rahman.com. And the book is now available for pre-order, at least right now on Amazon. And then it's on December the 23rd. It's on full release then. So yeah, if anybody is interested, then the book is out there. It's called Let It Go: How to Stop the Past Ruining Your Future. And it's all about changing your mindset, changing who you are at a very deep level.
No, awesome, David. And like as well, I'll definitely promote your book for you, and I'll put it out there and share it. No, you're welcome, and recommend it to people because from the bits that I've read, it really kind of hooks me, and I want to read more. So,
thank you, my friend. Thank you.
No, you're welcome. But I wish you all the best in what you're doing, and have a great day, and I'll stay in touch.
Thank you.
Welcome.